Hi and welcome to Indigo Starfire. My name is Bevin, and in this video I'm going to be looking into the question, what does the person on your mind want to tell you but are afraid to say? There are 3 groups to choose from. Group 1 is the Carnelian, along with this card which says time out. Group 2 is the Jet, along with this card which says new chapter. And group 3 is the purple Fluorite, along with this card which says worlds within worlds. So if you want to take a moment to center, focus on your breathing and feel whichever group, maybe multiple groups or perhaps all of the groups that you're most drawn to. I'll give you a minute to make your selection and then we'll get right into it. And there are timestamps in the description box of the video for each group if you would like to jump ahead. And up next is a close-up photo of the cards and the crystals to help you better make your selection. Hi, Group 1. You chose the Carnelian, along with this card which says time out. So to tap into some energy surrounding the nature of this connection so you can make sure that you have the right group. This is definitely going to apply for people that are in some kind of break from their person. Maybe it's a full no contact, full separation, or people have taken some energetic space from one another. There may have been some ghosting, sort of pulling back energies on one or both sides. This could have come as the result of a falling out, fight, misunderstanding, or just something that was almost kind of like the long goodbye, and distance just started to accumulate for a variety of reasons, maybe reasons that had been expressed, or just sort of a slow kind of distancing between the two of you. And sort of the big question is, do we revive this? Is it possible to salvage this situation? Where do we go from here? Or is this story over for now or for this lifetime? This can also be somebody that you are still in contact with, but it feels that the energies have almost stagnated to a certain extent. So it might be kind of questions that are rolling around, maybe that you've tried to present to this person as far as discussions and have been stonewalled, or you just haven't really reached a place of resolution or satisfaction as far as what's going on with us. What are the true feelings? Maybe feelings haven't been expressed at all, or whatever way in which you define yourselves together at this particular point in time. There's the sense of we've built this level of intimacy, trust, and connectedness with one another. And there's a need to sort of evolve into something more, but one or both people is kind of hesitant to take that first step or that next step forward. So it's kind of like a period of a pause, a holding pattern. 2 people sort of in hermit mode, no matter if you are still in contact with one another. For a lot of you, it feels like there's some kind of seed of potential that this situation is not totally off limits as far as being able to be revived or carried forward in some way. But it's almost like the conclusion of one phase or one cycle, and sort of standing at that liminal space, that threshold of where do we go from here? Is it possible to build moving forward, or is this a wrap for this situation with us? So with that in mind, let me go ahead and get some tarot and see, what does this person want to tell you that they are afraid to say out loud, afraid to discuss, afraid to communicate or open up about? Okay, so we have the Fool, and in this deck it says opening, strength, holding us together, temperance, radical balance, the world coming full circle, Ten of Wands, embracing the universe, and the Ten of Pentacles, Mother Earth. So there's definitely a very present energy here as far as conclusions. There's a sense here that even though the two of you may have reached some sort of a stalemate, something has stalled out, something has kind of come full circle, that there is still a lot of passion and desire, much of which it feels like has not been spoken or expressed, or that this person feels that they didn't do a very adequate job of conveying to you in a way that was meaningful or conducive to kind of the overall health of the connection in the past. That although there's silence or there's distance, there is still this kind of unquenchable fire that burns within them for you. It's a sense that as much as if this is someone who has pulled their energy back, maybe out of fear, some degree of needing to kind of face the reality of truly how much you mean to them, what they want going forward, somebody with a deep fear of intimacy, for example, somebody who has kind of been wandering the corridors of love and really encountering a lot of disappointment in their life up to this point in time, and then they have found you. The two of you have found one another, and it's like wish fulfillment. It's the dream come true. It's the full package. And it almost feels that as much as they may have been yearning for this, trying to manifest this in, trying to call this in, when faced with the real deal, when faced with that in real time, the nature of we're building here, we're building beyond sort of my experiences in love and partnership up to this point in time. We're headed in the direction of something really good. But with that is almost the need then to leave behind conditioning, expectations, wounding that does not serve and is in fact quite the opposite of what is being experienced and expressed and what the future looks like for this connection. That it's a sense of almost needing to kind of unpack or process in some manner why they're kind of standing in their own way, when so much in terms of the energy and the experience with you up to this point in time has been screaming, my destiny lies in the direction of building further with you. It feels that in the distance and in the silence, there's been a lot of back and forth, a lot of weighing of the pros and cons. If this is like a full no communication, no contact, it feels like on multiple occasions, this person has wanted to sort of leap towards you, take that leap of faith, open up those lines of communication again. They may have been trying to almost feel things out energetically, or have been doing a little bit of sleuthing, maybe watching you on social media to see kind of what's going on in your world and in your reality. Are you still open and kind of are you sending signs or indicators to them that it's the appropriate time to approach? Or is this something where their conduct, or maybe a lot of time that has gone by since you were last in kind of more close contact with one another, has this sort of reshaped and changed you in a different direction? And it feels to be something where they've almost sort of stopped themselves short of coming towards you, or if they have reached out, it's only been with like these half truths, sort of 1 foot in, 1 foot out, which might have been a dilemma up to this point in time that kind of created a blockade. It brought things to sort of a screeching halt. One or both of you directly or indirectly saying that, you know, there's more potential here, but something needs to give. Something more also needs to be given in this situation. You may have drawn a boundary. Their boundary could have been sort of the resistance to pour more fully into this situation. It feels like they have definitely been soul searching, kind of looking within that emotional body, within that emotional space. There's so much that compels them in the direction of, I don't want this to be over between the two of us. I want a fresh start. I want to break through these lines of my own resistance, but I keep being kind of pulled back in the direction of fear. I keep getting in my own way. These are deep and profound feelings, with sort of 4 of these 6 tarot cards here being major arcana, and then the 2 minor arcana being 10, sort of the end of the suit. They have put a lot of energy, attention, and effort into sort of figuring out and carving out a plan of action forward. This is not just sort of twiddling their thumbs in the silence and completely ignoring you, or completely ignoring this situation, even if that's what it looks like from the outside, kind of presenting this image of life is just carrying on. They are very maybe presenting that they're unbothered by the situation, unaffected, that they don't miss you. The truth of the matter is, internally speaking, there's some kind of battle which has been waged within them that may be taking a toll on kind of their emotional health and well-being, their resistance to reaching out, to taking that leap of faith forward, to kind of breaking through this territory that had not been crossed before, stepping into more of the fullness and authenticity of how they're needing to show up or wanting to show up in this connection. This is something which is sort of pulling them almost against their will, and with this sort of stipulation that they have free will to continue to kind of stand in the way of the next chapter of this connection starting, or a reconciliation taking place. This is someone who's very aware that they hold the power in their hands to sort of pivot this situation forward. And it's becoming harder and harder to resist at least making the effort in your direction. And for some, it's going to be too little too late. And so there's a fear of that as well that might be part of a factor that sort of keeps them at a distance. A sense as well for some also of a bit of shame at some kind of reflex or instinct within, kind of like a fear of their feelings that may have caused them to kind of step into a triggered place and kind of put their guard up against you and the connection and what was being developed. And that feels to be something that is part of like shadow work that they're trying to work on, that, you know, they may sort of have identified but don't really necessarily know how to move beyond that. And with that is a sense of embarrassment. I have called this love into my life. I have manifested this, and I have run in the face of my manifestation. How can I be forgiven for such things? How could you love me or accept me or want me, seeing me in the fullness of this experience? There's a cowardly energy associated with this, a sense of them feeling cowardice within, that they have almost chosen the path of fear rather than kind of continuing to move in the direction of the homecoming of love that is represented in this situation. There's a deep sense of longing, of missing, of wanting to kind of repair this situation, but not just sort of get embroiled in a cycle that you had been in with one another before, something that was reflective of their kind of history in love and romance before meeting you and before kind of experiencing you in this connection. But it's the sense of, I want to build a bridge back towards you, but strengthen our foundation. Make something that can last through the storms of life. I want to take this experience, this time apart, this time where I've pushed you away and kind of tucked within myself, to really build in a better direction, build in a more wise fashion. It's a sense of someone also kind of holding themselves back until they really feel that they can pivot beyond this sort of threshold of fear and just bare their soul to you. It feels like for a lot of you, this person is definitely planning on not just lingering in this energy of hermit mode at a distance. All these major arcana and these 2 tens right here can indicate somebody who's gearing up to make that contact, gearing up to kind of present something. Here's an offer. Is it possible for us to rebirth this? Can we re-spark this? Can we move beyond what has happened? Can we build in a new direction? Can we enhance sort of the strength of what we shared with one another before? Take the lessons of what were the shortcomings and utilize all of that to sort of weave a new chapter of our story with one another. And so it's something that it almost feels kind of like the pressure of resistance is building at this particular point in time. And what they may be afraid to tell you, what they're wanting to say and afraid to tell you, could be the words, I love you, I miss you, I want to come back, I want to start over, I want to take things to the next level. It's going to be different for everybody in their circumstances, but this is definitely some kind of big declaration, something that has been thought about for a long time, something that they've been kind of processing within the emotional body for some time. They may have really kind of run into the intellectual space and kind of vacated the heart, the truth of the heart, what was being experienced or built or flowing between the two of you, this very palpable chemistry, these seeds of potential right here. that due to some degree of overwhelm, or maybe even the necessity of, because it feels like this is someone who's done a lot of internal work in the period of sort of distance or separation, that it almost feels like in order to pivot forth into the next manifestation of what the two of you might become with one another, it was very necessary for a period of sort of tucking back into the shadow to really evaluate and see, and to loosen from themselves kind of these untruths, or come to know the name of certain fears that they have lingering within them that are counterproductive to building in a loving manner in a productive way. And so it feels to be, if they were kind of wishy-washy in and out before, if there was a lot of fear in the current of what they had to feed into this connection, they're wanting to come back in strong. And this has gone, it feels like, beyond just a desire. There's something measurable that they've been working on, something that they can really kind of show or demonstrate that I have at least come to an understanding in a more precise manner of this facet of myself, this kind of fearful element of myself. And if you are willing to work with me, if we can work together, I want to build beyond this. I want to show you this part of my shadow, for you to take that as you will, and to determine, can you love me even with this sort of sense of inherent brokenness or void within, kind of a longing for love and yet a deep and profound fear of love, that this situation, the feelings for you, have really motivated them to come to terms with, or to recognize or own for the first time. And then it feels like really wanting to come towards you with the sense of sort of like, this is what I've discovered about me. Is there a way for us to work through this, or around this, or beyond this? Or can you help me kind of overcome this? Can we do this together? So in terms of signs, with Pentacles, we've got Earth energy, Capricorn, Taurus, and Virgo. Wands is fire, Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius. The World is fixed energy, Aquarius, Taurus, Leo, and Scorpio. Temperance is Sagittarius. Strength is Leo, and the Fool is Aries. So I'm going to get some messages from their higher self and see, what does this person want you to know at this time? Okay, and they say, I'm sorry I couldn't do right by you. So this person is definitely acknowledging their role in the distance that has been created between the two of you. They may have kind of projected blame before, accused you of coming on too strong, too intense, having too high of expectations or demands. Maybe this is something that was stated outwardly, or was just kind of a sense within that caused them to kind of remove themselves energetically from your presence and from direct and ongoing participation in this connection. But in the time that you've been apart, in the distance, or even kind of the stillness and the energetic space that has been created, they have done a lot of reflection within, and they're really seeing that you were not the problem. They, in fact, were the problem at this phase of kind of difficulty between the two of you. They also say, your intensity frightens and allures me all at the same time. So that's that confirmation of really seeing and sensing you as a major thing in love that they have manifested in. You are long-awaited wish fulfillment. There's a lot of potential here, a lot of untapped potential. You and the situation are the key to kind of opening the door to uncharted waters in love and partnership. And although there is a deep kind of magnetization in that direction, a deep longing and yearning to experience that, a fullness and a sensation of intimacy with another person that has been largely unknown, it feels like, or was unfathomable prior to encountering you. Although there is this deep draw in that direction, there is also a part of them which kind of cringes at the idea of being so exposed for who they are, flaws and all, which it feels like that idea of kind of pulling away into the shadow, it's been very instrumental for them coming to some sort of deep truth within themselves that has kind of flipped the switch as far as someone who may have been kind of moving through the world or through this connection previously in a stance of being very defensive, projecting blame, and kind of self-sabotaging in this situation. They've now taken personal ownership, and it's definitely the energy of kind of, I want to move beyond this difficulty or this quality within myself that has sort of undermined the beauty of what we were creating or what we had with one another, to step into the realm of a leap of faith, a fresh direction. They're wanting to show up in more of a courageous energy, to acknowledge that kind of cowardice within them and to take steps to sort of transcend that nevertheless. They also say, my mind and heart always comes back to you. So no matter how much they have tried to push you away, no matter how long it has been, no matter what they've tried to distract themselves with, excuses they've tried to make, ways in which they've tried to kind of present you to be the problem, or have even leaned into sort of like a defeatist attitude, feeling that it would be too little too late, or that what they would have to give as far as honesty and apology, more of a well-rounded version of themselves and had shown up in the situation previously. They keep coming back around to that point of recognition that it is so important to at least put their personal truth out there, whether you accept them and want to move forward, or whether it just provides some sort of release and alleviation for them. Closure in the situation, a balancing of some sort of energetic scales between the two of you, where you've invested in this connection, and when it was their turn to sort of reciprocate, they kind of pulled the plug on the situation or chose the path of fear instead of love. So as much as sort of their shadow is still pulling them back in a sense of, I need more time, I don't know if I'm ready, I don't know if what I have to give is kind of sufficient, I don't know if I'm ready for kind of the best case scenario to unfold here. That's another element as well. They're really afraid of getting what they want in this situation, and yet this situation is everything that they have been looking for. You are everything that they have been looking for. And so the nature and gravity of that is something that it feels like they've needed this period of time to kind of come to a deeper understanding about that within themselves in order to be able to offer you something that comes truly from a place of free will and choice, rather than just being carried along in the trajectory of the magic that has unfolded between the two of you. It almost feels to be something where they're starting to look at however things have unraveled or fallen apart between you. It has really afforded them this opportunity to say, I choose this. I choose the path of love. I choose you because I have walked in the other direction. I understand what I have now, what we had with one another. I see you for who you are because there has now been distance which has been created between the two of us, and I choose to move back in your direction rather than it just being a place where I find myself accidentally. They also say, I'll never forget the time we spent together. So a lot of reminiscing going on right now. And again, sort of seeing you from a different vantage point. It feels a little bit of almost not even so much that they appreciate what they had now that it's gone, but it's almost they needed to clear something away within themselves, within the heart space that was inhibiting their ability to properly receive the love and the vibration that you were trying to give before. So through that kind of work, it feels like what would be evidenced, for most of you, this is when this person emerges, when they turn back up. For others, free will again is a factor, so they may choose to sort of remain distant or continue to choose that path of fear and sort of stuff and suppress and deny these feelings for a bit longer. But for those of you that it's, when they come back around, when they sort of come out of hiding, it will be very evident within their vibration, within sort of the intensity in which they are able to be rigorously honest, vulnerable, speak about these shortcomings within themselves, not from a place of a victim mentality, but almost just in a very educated manner. This is more of who I am that I have discovered about myself. And so I am reintroducing you to a more full version the person you were dealing with before. And is this somebody that, you could see yourself opening your heart to? Could you see yourself giving another chance, or giving a first chance to this version of me as I have cultivated it? And they also say, I am hiding my true feelings for you. So for a lot of you, this is somebody who kind of got cold feet or ran when it was, things were really beautiful. There was a lot of kind of harmony between the two of you. And that is when the fear may have kicked in, sort of the energy of the long goodbye, making up excuses, starting to kind of pull back the energy, ghost, block things out, undermine the connection. It's something where the nature, it feels like, of what has been awoken within them, you in a lot of ways representing wish fulfillment, the experience, the feeling, being something that they almost had never known before, never thought was possible in this lifetime, a sense of almost kind of like too good to be true. And instead of continuing to move in the direction of faith, they needed to sort of wander off course. They needed to take kind of this route into their own personal darkness in order to really be able to sort of face within themselves, what are my blocks to love? What within me is kind of tarnishing this beautiful opportunity to experience and cultivate and build and enjoy and exchange this higher vibration of love and partnership and connectedness with another person than I have known before. So there's a lot that they want to say and express. There's a lot that they may feel that they've really sort of dropped the ball in this situation, missed opportunities, again, kind of a compulsion to move back in your direction on several occasions, even if they've come forward. Up to this point in time, it may have just been in sort of a surface level way, kind of some sort of practical excuse, or in the guise of like friendly conversation. Still kind of not at that point of really being able to sort of drop the mask and be fully vulnerable. But it feels like for each sort of point where they kind of failed to deliver sufficiently, or got to that point of now's the day, I'm ready to open up about these hidden feelings, only to sort of kind of tuck back into themselves. They're moving more into this space of confidence of, I cannot hold this truth within any longer. And they also say, you always know what to say to make me feel better. So this is that energy of comfort, safety, security, to be seen for exactly who they are. This is something that it's resonant with the idea of you represent a home that they have never known before, that they feel very safe and very nurtured in your presence, and that this might have been something that really was perplexing for them. This is kind of part of what they've been dealing with in that period of shadow work. Why have I run from something that actually feels good? I've been trying to kind of move away from love that hurts, love that disappoints, love that is just kind of an empty shell. And I've been presented with this fullness, the possibility of fullness, the experience of more fullness than I have known before. And I've moved in the opposite direction of that. So it's this idea of sort of wanting to return back home to you, wanting to kind of come out from hiding and let you see them in the light of who they are, of who they have really developed into during this period of distance between the two of you. And they also say, I am lost in this world without you. It gets lonely. So they're missing your companionship, the warmth of your presence, the stimulation of your conversations, the proximity to you energetically, physically, in all ways. You really help this person to make sense of themselves. This is someone who may see you as kind of like the yin to their yang, the perfect match, even for all the manner of ways in which the two of you are so different from one another, that it just makes sense somehow. And most importantly, they make sense. They feel more comfortable in their skin. They feel more accepted for exactly who they are when they are with you, which it feels like when this person comes back around, for those of you that they actually sort of take that leap of faith, they're going to deliver in a big way. They're going to give more to this situation in a more genuine manner than you've experienced up to this point in time. They have needed this period of sort of self-induced isolation in order to be able to sort of shed a version of them that would rather kind of choose the wandering path versus sort of the straight road back home, back to you, back to themselves. They also say, I kept the wrong company around who interfered with this beautiful connection. So there could have been low vibe friends, maybe even third parties that were involved in this situation, people who they asked for advice about the circumstance that sort of led them astray or didn't know how to properly sort of give feedback about the nature and intensity of a connection that they couldn't understand. For some of you, this will be like a high-level soul connection. And if you're asking people, you're consulting people that have not personally had experience with things of that nature, then they're usually ill-equipped to give practical and useful feedback on how to maneuver through such intense and transcendent bonds and connections like that. And so it's something that they are really recognizing that they may have given the sovereignty away in this situation to the influence of other people. They were scared. They were drawn to the intensity of this, to the intensity of you, and very just sort of unsure how to maneuver in that. And so getting the feedback of other people who may have said, oh, it sounds too complicated. This sounds like it's too many obstacles to work. It sounds too out of the box, too unusual. Maybe you're better off with somebody that is kind of more along the same frequency as you, more in alignment with sort of what you've known in love and partnerships before, is from your world, is kind of fits in with the life you've created for yourself. Any of these things could have been something which caused them to sort of second guess or pull away from you in the situation in the past. This can also apply to the idea of sort of third-party energy in the form of that shadow within, that recognized and understood on some level that you in this situation was the wish fulfillment they've been trying to manifest for quite some time. But then the shadow aspect, right, when presented with that kind of that gift and that opportunity, sort of reared its ugly head and tried to kind of make this person doubt, effectively did make them doubt and second guess themselves. Are they worthy to receive this? Is what they have inside good enough to feed into and nourish this connection and what it might become as well? So those third-party energies, that interference, it could either be in the form of outside people who were, kind of influencing them in an alternate direction rather than continuing to participate and trust in the situation, or this could be sort of internal factors that were causing them to doubt sort of what their heart was telling them was the right move to make in the situation. And they also say, nobody is like you. You are exceptional. You are special. So they may see you as the one. They definitely see you as a very unique soul along their journey in this lifetime. This is somebody who, regardless of kind of the outcome of this situation, whether you take them back, whether they work up that courage to be vulnerable and honest, or if this is just something where, they continue to kind of wander that shadow land within themselves for a longer period of time, they have been transformed by the experience of meeting you. They have been affected overall in a very positive way by encountering you in this lifetime. And it ties into the idea as well with the sense of like a lack mentality. You are everything that they have been looking for. And rather than sort of running full force toward that and embracing that, they've almost just sort of chosen to sort of take a step in the direction of doubt, which has created complications between the two of you. But it feels like for a lot of people, they are very determined to sort of cross that threshold. They're very determined to make a move back in your direction, to show you that they have changed, not just promise that changes will occur, but to really demonstrate that in terms of how they're showing up and participating with you, maybe even a degree of honesty and candidness that was kind of lacking before, ready to speak those words, ready to have those uncomfortable conversations about matters of the heart. that had kind of created this wedge between the two of you in the past. So for a lot of you, this person is kind of gearing up to come in, maybe approaching in the near future. And for others of you, again, free will is a factor. So they may choose to spend a little more time or a lot more time kind of in that element of the shadows, sort of dealing with their own reflection and coming to a place of accepting themselves for where they are at right now, so that they can hopefully kind of liberate themselves and perhaps the two of you from any kind of confusion or anything that's been sort of put on pause, the idea of like an unfinished symphony between the two of you. So I'm going to get some initials. This can be a first, middle, or last name of you or this person, or it can spell something out, just whatever resonates for you. Got L, S, C, S, Y, A, Q, X, R, O, N, M, V, V, E, and D. So those are your messages. I hope that they resonated with you and that you enjoyed the reading. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, or share. If you'd like a personal reading, I offer them through my Etsy shop, and there's a link to that in the description box of the video. I offer a variety of pre-recorded video readings, written readings, and channeled letters. Turnaround time on everything is 5 to 7 days from the time of purchase. I also sell handmade jewelry, dream catchers, and sun catchers if you're interested in checking any of those out as well. And I've launched a second channel here on YouTube, which is called Lady of the Dawn Tarot. There's a link to that in the description box of the video, as well as in the channel section of my page. The format over there consists of readings related to topics other than love and romance. So if you're looking for something a little different from me, that is the place to find it. I thank you for your support there, as well as for your continued support here on this channel. I hope to see you again in another reading. Please take care and be well. Hi, Group 2. We chose the Jet, along with this card, which says New Chapter. So to channel the energies of situations that this group may apply to, this can either represent a person that you have recently started dating or seeing, maybe even something that's a situationship, you're kind of undefined with one another. This can be a friendship situation, or even like a coworker, an acquaintance, where there's just a sense of something more that has been yet to be spoken out loud. This can also apply for someone from your past who has resurfaced, and you are making the effort with one another to try and rebuild the bonds of the past. Reconciliation has sort of taken place or has started to unfold, but it feels like, if that's the case, that it's kind of in the early days. It's still very much in a space of like a blank canvas. So this may be someone who has returned somewhat recently, or you're still in this process of kind of rebuilding trust with one another. There's been some kind of progress and movement forward as far as transcending cycles of the past, but there's still kind of an unknown element here as far as how long lasting will this be, how deep are these changes, how committed is this person to sort of giving it their all this time around, rather than kind of looping back into maybe like a runner-chaser situation, or undetermined sort of if the two of you are truly compatible, or if this is a situation that ultimately kind of will fail to thrive overall. So start with some tarot and see what this person wants to tell you that they are afraid to say out loud. we've got the Two of Swords, which says dialogue. The Fool, opening. Justice, mending the web. Eight of Pentacles, earth regeneration. Ten of Swords, prana, breath of life. And the Knight of Wands, tending the hearth. So, feels like this person's determination to in some way redeem themselves, if this is a situation of reconciliation, or in some way to surpass difficulties that you've experienced in love and partnerships before that they may be aware of from your past, or even kind of an acknowledgement within themselves of their shortcomings in romantic connections in their past. There's a major kind of focus and interest in building beyond that, in sort of turning up as a different version of themselves. Somebody who may be very kind of, especially if this is a newer connection or something where it's still kind of a situationship or a friendship, they're wanting to, without kind of pressing the issue, touching on any trigger points, there's a sense of kind of curiosity and wanting to sort of learn about your wounds, learn about, your hang-ups, the damage that has been done emotionally to you by people that were, close to your heart before they came along, in the interest of kind of building in another way, or sort of proving that they are not like all these other people that you may have attracted in. For some of you, there could be a sense of almost mutual skepticism on both parts here, both parties, sort of like, am I ready to experience love again? Have I really healed and kind of transcended and come to understand and freed myself from my own sort of wounding and patterns sufficiently enough that if I let love in, if I let this person back in, or I continue to participate and sort of build in this situation, that it's not just going to be a looping back around in the same kind of cycles and patterns that have repeated before. So it's almost the idea of kind of two people that are tiptoeing around the idea of, is it safe to fully open up and love in this situation? This may have led to a stance of kind of this person moving towards you, but then almost things sort of stalling out. A lot of them kind of expecting you to take the lead in this situation at this particular point in time, because they're not wanting to come on too intense. They're not wanting to overwhelm you, bring up painful memories, push past boundaries and barriers too quickly. They may be someone themselves that is kind of in this place of they're feeling very hypersensitive. They're feeling very kind of easily triggered, or very fragile in terms of this being new territory, pressure that they're putting on themselves to, again, transcend a tendency or a pattern, or maybe something that played out in their most recent connection with another person. And it's a sense of, I don't want to go down that road again, and I'm willing to give this situation a chance, but I need to be taking different steps in this circumstance so that history doesn't just automatically repeat itself. The pressure to kind of not fall into the same sort of pattern as people that you had dated before, things that had kind of worked out poorly in your own romantic past in life. They've taken note of these things, even if you've just sort of casually mentioned that. If there's not been a whole lot of open discussion about these things, it's a certain degree of like observation. Maybe kind of reading into some degree within your energy, or ways in which you might have even been kind of hesitant, or even a degree of almost kind of people pleasing or over giving to this person in this situation, that kind of has caused them, it feels like, to sort of put on the brakes a bit, not for an energy of disinterest, or that you're not on the same page with one another, but there's almost something that they can perceive about you acting from a place of wounding, or them wanting to sort of take their time and a slower approach, kind of still this urge to just rush headlong into the situation, wanting to make sure that this is kind of the healed version of you that is presenting them with such enthusiasm, or giving them signs and indicators and signals that you're open and ready to move forward? Or is this something where you're going to regret it later on, that things evolved in the way they did, or at the pace in which they did? Are you going to be kind of encouraging them to move at a pace that is too quick for the actuality of your comfort zone? They're very kind of mindful of not encountering any sort of tripwires of your triggering, your shadow, your wounding. There might have almost been little kind of slip ups or fumbles up to this point in time, where they sort of caught a glimpse of some degree of sort of volatility or shadow within. And so they're very much almost kind of like trying to sort of walk on eggshells, while also trying to be as natural as possible as you kind of wiggle beyond the space of sort of like newness, getting to know one another, until you come to this place of feeling comfortable that you are a safe space for one another to open up, emotionally speaking. And this is also bringing forth this kind of, this download, this phrase of, it's not you, it's me. And so there's something where they almost are trying very hard to be delicate with your heart. They're trying not to be careless. They're trying not to be brutish. They're trying not to pour too much of their intensity into you in this situation too quickly. For everything that they have sort of expressed, there's a lot that is being sort of hidden and contained within, and that this may be sort of sending mixed signals and messages. Almost something where it becomes very hard to restrain themselves, and it may sort of yield the extreme opposite, where there's a bit of kind of hot and cold going on in this situation, and you're not sort of really sure, is this a red flag? Is this fear on their part? Is it getting ready to bottom out? Is this something that we can kind of work beyond? So there's almost this energy of like an ambient tension, it feels like, that's created in this situation, because there's so much that they're holding back from you as far as their motivations for their actions at this point in time, and a lot that they're holding back as well as far as long-term goals that they see in the situation and with you. It's really wanting to lay this firm foundation that they've come to this understanding through their own experience, or maybe even just trying a different approach to how they've moved through love and partnership before, that time will serve this situation. Taking the slow and deliberate crawl almost through this phase that you are in with one another, whether this is coming back around but not moving so quickly this time, or again, somebody that's, like a friendship situation, and there are feelings that are kind of yet to be expressed fully, and it's sort of just creating a lot of this tension and this buildup, sort of waiting for somebody to say something, somebody to act. A situationship where there's just kind of a lot of vagueness, or even sort of a newer connection where feelings have been expressed and you're dating one another, but it's almost just kind of, it's taking its time to really sort of develop. There's an energy of vagueness in all of this, that the root of what they're wanting you to know is that this is well intentioned. This is so that that you can be handled with care. Your heart can be handled with care. They're trying to be mindful even of wounds that they are not aware of within you, but that, like, the specifics of them, that they can almost just sort of sense in your ability to kind of give and take. So maybe somebody who's highly intuitive and psychic, even if they don't resonate as that, they're just sort of sensing your energy. It's something very instinctual within, where it feels like they're putting such importance and kind of care into how this circumstance develops, or how they are approaching you at this particular point in time, because they see long-term potential. You are someone that they see as worth investing in, and so it's something where it may even just be an instinct that you're at this rocky stage with one another, where if things move too quickly, then there's kind of a lack in this foundation in a way. Maybe things that you're going through independent of them in this situation, that it's kind of, they're almost feeling like, I want to be this structure for you. I want to be this kind of rock or this backbone for you, while you are in a process of sort of stepping beyond your comfort zone, while you are in the process of kind of dealing with other things independent of this connection, so that we are able to pour into one another with fullness and consistency, rather than having this be something where the opportunity to build is kind of squandered because of other sort of distractions. On the other side of that, there can also be things happening within their life where they don't necessarily feel that they can fully invest in the manner in which they would want to, in sort of diving in deep with you and being able to provide that consistently. Maybe to some degree due to like knowing about some wounds within. They're very cautious to fully kind of trust or invest in love in general. This may be somebody who has rushed in very quickly. The idea of fools rush in, that has ended poorly for them in the past. And so they need to kind of cultivate some degree of self-restraint here. So it's a new approach or a newer approach or something that they've kind of discovered or they suspect will yield different results than what has been the case in the past. But because it's some degree of kind of strategy and trying to work around not poking at wounds unnecessarily, not triggering one another, you or themselves unnecessarily, that this doesn't feel like anything that they can speak out loud, and yet it may be conveyed energetically as a bit of duplicity or sneakiness within them. You may really sense that like they're holding something back, they're restraining something. They're not being totally honest with you. And so it feels to be something that it's a very well-intentioned thing that they're holding back. It's a degree of care. And this isn't something that they always want to kind of approach and handle you in this situation or themselves as they're showing up in the situation in this manner, in the totality of whatever might or might not develop between the two of you. But it's almost like at this particular point in time, there's some instinct within them, something energetically within them that says, if this is going to grow into something real and stable and long term, then this is kind of it's a period of time where there's a bit of turbulence. There's almost kind of this quaking of, I could get triggered and run. I'm afraid you're going to get triggered and run. I really want to kind of be mindful of things you don't talk about in your romantic past that are still sort of fresh, or you're still in the process of healing those. I don't want to be kind of added stress and burden on top of other things that you may be kind of dealing with at this particular point in time. I don't want to start to interpret this connection as stress on top of other things I'm dealing with at this particular point in time. That it comes from a very well-meaning place, but it's almost that they've chosen, or maybe the necessity of this, they could not even kind of fully intellectually understand this motivation. It feels to be almost just energetic instinct at this particular point in time, is I need to sort of slow this down. We need to kind of move at more of a flowing pace rather than taking these kind of giant leaps forward, at least at this particular point in time, until we reach some sort of clearing, something is transcended, and then it feels like there's a lot more that they want to give to you. There's a version of them or a side of them that you have not seen yet, you have not been introduced to yet, and it almost feels like somebody who, through kind of their degree of self-restraint, they feel that they're almost kind of leading this connection, leading themselves into more of like a safe space where they can open up and kind of pour more of the fullness and intensity of what they feel within outwardly into this connection, without it being too much, too soon, too little, too kind of raw and authentic. They may have tried that before, and it's sort of led to a degree of almost sensing that, the energies were off, or that it was kind of, they were pouring too much in, and there was not enough time and space to really let things kind of take root and germinate in the situation organically. So a measured approach, it feels like, or even something that, if things are kind of moving at sort of a little more of a fast pace between the two of you, this can even indicate that they're sort of right on the brink of kind of slowing things down a little bit, because they're starting to feel triggered. They can sense there's like a trigger coming for you. Something that, other kind of factors outside of this situation that may sort of necessitate not taking a step back from one another, but almost just redefining how much the give and take happens and in what level that happens. So it may kind of be something where they shift from like deep conversations to just surface level things. They're kind of like taking space and time for themselves, giving space and time for you, kind of not necessarily rushing so in a forward manner toward the idea of like, okay, what is this going to become? How quickly are we going to develop into something else? That it's almost out of respect for the fact that something within the situation or within you or them needs to kind of shift or settle before kind of the doors can be opened, before they can move out of sort of this walking on eggshells energy or feeling like they need to, in order to be very honest, very vocal, very forthright about kind of longer term intentions that they have with you, that is in kind of a longer term plan. So somebody that has, again, long term plans for you in this situation, but there's almost the sense of needing to kind of be very quick on their feet with sort of how they're showing up and kind of handling the situation, or even something within you that's being projected out that you might not be able to really see or sense, but that they are registering energetically speaking. So let's get some messages from their higher self and see what else rather does this person want to tell you right now. Okay, and they say, I am finally feeling the consequences of my actions. So any degree of caution that is being taken on their part, maybe due to something that has been triggered within, or a sense of wanting to be kind of careful with you, careful of any wounds that they are aware of or things they are not aware of, that they are just sort of sensing in your ambient energy or other kind of circumstances exterior to the connection that may be putting some pressure or kind of operating as a wedge in your situation right now. They're learning from the past in ways in which they may have almost sort of feared an element of being abandoned, and so they could have rejected people sooner, or sort of misconstrued things as sort of blocks and barriers and wounding within people, and kind of taking that very personally on themselves, operating in sort of an extreme energy of kind of giving up at the first sign of trouble, or when turbulence happened, kind of running or throwing in the towel. And it feels like this is somebody who has recognized or acknowledged or is owning that part of themselves at this particular point in time, to where they've learned the hard way what fools rush in kind of leads to. They've learned the hard way that without some kind of element of tempering down the energies, rather than just going full throttle in the direction of building and experiencing one another and saturating yourselves and each other's energy on a constant basis, that there's a need for kind of like periods of sort of planting and watering this connection, and then periods of time where it's very necessary to sort of sit back and kind of let things breathe, let them be. And so they're really wanting to learn from kind of the mistakes of the past that have taken place for them as far as love and partnerships. Also anything that has been kind of fumbled energetically speaking between the two of you up to this point in time, so that you can build into the long-term future with one another in a way that is kind of mindful and sensitive to wounds within that are, and hang-ups as far as love and partnership that are, maybe in some process of being healed, or that you're not ready to fully kind of heal. You don't know how to heal these things. You're not even aware of these things. They're not even aware of these things. For a lot of you, this is someone who's just really kind of operating on some sort of an instinct, an energetic instinct at this point in time. They're maneuvering according to the level of sort of congruency or turbulence that they are sensing within the bond between the two of you, because in times past where they have acted contrary to that, it's sort of led to the unraveling of situations. And so they place a lot more precedence on you and what can develop between the two of you on into the future. And so kind of taking their foot off the accelerator at this point in time, it feels like is what they've determined is kind of the best course of action for now. And they also say, I got spooked. So there's that confirmation of someone who themselves may have been the one that got triggered. They started to feel a triggering coming on. They may have pulled back or kind of just elongating the process of kind of the two of you sort of developing into something more. If this is someone who has come back in the form of like a reconciliation, they're wanting a fresh start with you. They may have presented something that sort of, even this in and of itself, this measured energy could be a demonstration of change. But there could be a part of you that is almost wondering, where does this all lead? They were so brave to come knock on my door once again, and yet they are not kind of pouring all of themselves into something new being established or rebirthed in this situation. And it's tying into this degree of kind of like they've gotten triggered before in this situation. They're not wanting to sort of let insecurities or some factor within themselves kind of undermine or dismantle what the two of you have the ability to kind of carve out and cultivate with one another moving forward. And before I do the rest of these message cards, I just realized I forgot to call out the zodiac signs on the tarot. So let me go back and do that before I cover these up with the rest of these message cards. But with the fire, we've got with wands, we have fire energy, Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius. Swords is air, Aquarius, Gemini, and Libra. Pentacles is earth, Capricorn, Taurus, and Virgo. Justice is Libra. And the Fool is Aries. So back to the message cards. And they say, I can still feel you. So as much as they may have kind of taken their foot off the accelerator and have sort of backed off of this connection, backed off of their enthusiasm to move towards you, how they're participating, they've given you some space or they've taken some space for themselves, they still feel very connected to you, very enthusiastic about what the future can hold. There's a sense of longing to be a safe space for you, longing to create an energetic sanctuary for you, wanting to be patient while you sort of, with that energy of justice here, kind of settle into something within yourself, maybe some kind of change that's happening with you, other things in the material world that are happening with you or them, or maybe the both of you that are kind of upending things, a period of change, and kind of a sense of like, I understand that this connection needs to be sort of put on the back burner, or we can't necessarily participate in this as enthusiastically as we were before, but I don't want to lose this. I don't want to lose you. I feel that there is so much more to this situation. I still feel that you are important. This matters. This situation is worth investing in, but kind of until harmony is restored, energetically speaking, it's almost something where they are exercising that self-restraint, trying not to act from a triggered place, maybe trying not to kind of, again, get into like deep conversations, not wanting to sort of speak to you from a reactive place, not wanting to sort of miss the opportunity or refuse to move forward because the triggers get too much and they kind of run in the opposite direction. So they're kind of walking on eggshells with you and walking on eggshells with themselves in the situation overall at this point in time. But beyond that is kind of this deep and transcendent sense of I want more in this situation. I don't want us to be in kind of this icy sort of energy of tension for the long term. It's just kind of necessary for now. They also say, I will be reaching out soon. So if things have gotten a little distant between you and this person, they definitely plan on checking in, reaching out, offering some kind of an olive branch, something that kind of lets you know that they're not just wanting to remain in this sort of status quo, this holding pattern of a bit of self-restraint or awkwardness that may have sort of surfaced in this situation. They're wanting to give you more of a kind of a glimpse or a very kind of big demonstration into sort of their motivations up to this point in time. Something that really lets you know that they're still invested in this, and yet there's an instinct within them that says we kind of need to go slow at this particular point in time. And they also say, you are my forever love. So again, they really do see a future with you. They want to build and grow beyond this point. But they're taking a very delicate approach at this point in time because there is this importance on, I want this to matter. I want this to be long term. I want this to be something stable that works out between the two of us, rather than being kind of mindful of sort of the energetic needs of the connection, the energetic needs of one another at this particular point in time, which being oblivious to those things in previous connections, or not even knowing that that was kind of a factor that related to sort of the health of relationships in previous circumstances. That might have been the make or break point when they weren't sort of cognizant of their partner's energy. They were not cognizant of their own energy, and it could have led to things really sort of spiraling out of control. So there's an urge to kind of move in a different direction, do things differently in this situation, learn from their mistakes in past situations and circumstances, or even if it's reconciliation with you in the past, so that what develops from this point forward is trending toward kind of the energies of the beautiful and the substantial rather than the complicated and the short-lived. They also say, I'm secretly in love with you. Yeah, so there's a lot that they are holding back, that they are wanting to express, that they have not made known yet, but it feels like for good reason. There's almost, a fear of them kind of bolting into the full polarity and spectrum of fear. So there is an urge to pour more into you, to give more into the situation than they are currently or than they have up to this point in time. Maybe even the nature and gravity of what they're feeling. If this is like a friend that has deeper feelings, a situationship where they're just not kind of grounding it down into anything stable and substantial, or someone new you're seeing, there could have been deep feelings that came on very quick and they almost needed to kind of put the brakes on, or they've been triggered by this. It's a sense of, I'm in deep for you, and I don't know if we have the proper foundation of experience with one another to kind of have all of this love be poured into something that is kind of the proper vessel and structure to get us through the good times and the bad. They also say, every thought is you. You occupy my mind. I can't escape you, even if I tried. So this idea of like walking on eggshells, this can be something that also has to do with triggering by way of how consumed they are by the connection, by these feelings, by the importance that they are placing on kind of moving in the proper manner in this particular stage that you find yourselves at with one another. This is not just someone who's trying to toy with your emotions, mess with your mind, give you mixed signals. They may have been somebody who did that with people in the past, were kind of careless with hearts in the past and lost out on good things before. But it feels like someone that if that was sort of part of their shadow, part of a previous version of them, they have taken steps to grow into a different version of who they want to be. They've taken steps to sort of move away from that direction. And so that can again tie into the idea of like walking on eggshells, not wanting to slip into that Casanova state, but wanting to instead be sort of the leader of this situation into kind of more of a safe space where it's grounded based on time and experience with one another, rather than operating just purely on passion and kind of these overwhelming feelings, this overwhelming urge to dive in deep into this situation. They also say, this is not the way I wanted things to end. I wish I could go back in time. So if they have, again, kind of put the brakes on, or maybe even kind of taken a little distance from the situation, there's regret that this is something that, has to do with a trigger within them, something that they're sensing within you. But obviously, this is a reading about like, what do they want to tell you that they're afraid to say? It feels like they're afraid to ask very directly about this. So even kind of being mindful with some trigger within themselves, something where they may be feeling, that you're kind of getting ready to pull the plug on the situation, and they're trying as best as they can to not kind of run for the hills. They're trying to sort of maintain in the situation. They're trying to be that rock and that kind of stoic person, that safe space for you. whenever kind of your energy settled down and they get that clue and that signal that it's time to sort of take things further, take things to the next level, or they themselves kind of ease back over like a hyper reactive sort of energy, and are able to sort of trust more in this situation, their efforts to sort of build with you in a different direction than they typically have in romantic partnerships. This could be somebody who, leads with passion historically and then works on building like a friendship, or getting to know one another on a person to person level, and that has systematically kind of resulted in things not having that firm foundation to withstand the ebbs and flows of life. So in this situation, it almost feels like something where they're trying to kind of hold back in order to build something in a more practical sense with you, maybe just taking time before they're, fully expressing those feelings, fully making that commitment, fully diving in back deep, if they've come back around and this is a reconciliation. But it's something to where, this new territory, this new approach, it may feel very wobbly. It may be the first time they've tried something like this. It's something that they've learned through a period of introspection, but in practical application, there's an uncertainty, like, is this really helping or hurting what we have the potential to grow into with one another? And they also say, I must admit that I'm longing for your touch and warm embrace. So, as much as they are holding back from you, there are deeper feelings that they are wanting to admit. There is a craving that they have for you. They don't like being this restrained. There is an urge to dive in deep, pour more of themselves into this situation, to devour you and this connection. And yet, a part of them instinctually says that there'll be a time for that further down the road, but the time at this point is kind of the measured approach. It's time to kind of provide that solid stance for one another while kind of this period of operating and moving on eggshells is transcended in a way, so that there is longevity and consistency with the stage or the chapter, or the exploration of kind of getting to know one another in a more vulnerable stance, or being able to kind of build and participate into with one another into something a lot more long term. So as much as there's kind of this element of holding back energetically speaking, or just not moving it at as quick of a pace as you would think would be the case, given like the chemistry or wherever you're at with one another, whatever your history is with one another. It comes from a very well-meaning place, wanting to be able to enjoy the fruits of this connection more deeply into the long-term future, which they have determined is kind of possible, or is more of a likely result by sort of taking their time at this particular point. So I'm going to get some initials, and this can be a first, middle, or last name of you or this person, or it can spell something out, just whatever resonates for you. Got Z, K, D, J, O, P, W, S, A, D, Q, R, V, M, E, P, and L. So those are your messages. I hope that they resonated with you and that you enjoyed the reading. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, or share. If you'd like a personal reading, I offer them through my Etsy shop, and there's a link to that in the description box of the video. I offer a variety of pre-recorded video readings, written readings, and channeled letters. Turnaround time on everything is 5 to 7 days from the time of purchase. I also sell handmade jewelry, dream catchers, and sun catchers if you're interested in checking any of those out as well. And I've launched a second channel here on YouTube, which is called Lady of the Dawn Tarot. There's a link to that in the description box of the video, as well as in the channel section of my page. And the format over there consists of readings related to topics other than love and romance. So if you're looking for something a little different from me, that is the place to find it. I thank you for your support there, as well as for your continued support here on this channel. I hope to see you again in another reading. Please take care and be well. Hi, Group 3. You chose the purple fluorite, along with this card, which says worlds within worlds. So to channel some energies as far as the nature of your situation, to make sure that you've got the right group here. This can definitely be a circumstance with kind of like third-party situations involved, situationship, a lot of running and chasing, back and forth, a highly complex and convoluted situation. It may be something that you've run the full range of trying to define this. Is this a twin flame? Is this a soulmate? Is this a karmic? Is this my person? Is this just a distraction from my pain? Is it just limerence? It's kind of running around everything. And as much as you and this person at different points in time may have even exchanged roles in this kind of runner-chaser dynamic, it's a sense of always coming full circle back around to one another that may be both frustrating and endearing. This could be this type of circumstance where everything has been tried, cord cutting, meditations and rituals to kind of disconnect from this person energetically, a sense of really, meditating and trying to manifest this connection into being, infusing love in this connection, infusing not so loving vibrations in this connection, just a lot going on in this situation. A sense of two people as well, with the idea of worlds within worlds, or maybe a lot that is very much hidden. Obviously, it's a reading that, ties into the question of like, what are they feeling? What are they wanting to say that they are afraid to tell you? So kind of like deeper truths that have not been expressed. This could be very much mutual between the two of you. Can definitely be a circumstance of like a situationship or even a friendship that has not crossed the threshold into romantic partnership for any variety of reasons. But it's two people who really feel very deeply for one another, and neither has spoken on that first. Two people who are mutually kind of in the process of fighting and surrendering to some sort of breakthrough energy here. So definitely sort of not a cut and dry situation. A lot of layers to this situation. A lot of kind of maybe even obstacles. Almost the idea of like parallel paths on both your parts, that in order to have this experience with one another, it almost takes two people mutually sort of jumping in the direction of love, taking those leaps of faith, a lot that may need to kind of shift and change and be left behind. Maybe this is even kind of like core beliefs, realities, and structures within, in order to sort of make room for the idea of this partnership, this love, this situation becoming something more. Seeds of potential that really just need openness in order to ground. And it may be something where there's been a lot of false starts in this situation, a lot of unspoken chemistry between the two of you, or just a lot that kind of somebody needs to say, somebody needs to kind of break the ice in this situation, kind of the sense of pressure building, the idea of we can't keep going round and round like this, but there's a lot of fear about sort of where do we go moving forward from this particular circumstance. So I'm going to start with tarot and dive a little bit deeper into that question. What does this person want to tell you? What are they thinking and feeling that they are afraid to say out loud? Okay, so we have the Six of Cups, Two of Swords, the World. Oh, and these cards at the bottom, each of these has like a phrase. So the World is coming full circle. And with the Two of Swords, we have dialogue. And the Six of Cups is dreaming. Ten of Pentacles, Mother Earth. Nine of Swords, prayer flags flying. And the Knight of Swords, calling in the directions. So there's definitely a sense of wanting to move back in your direction, wanting reconciliation, wanting to close out some sort of chapter of resistance, resistance to the nature of their feelings, resistance to kind of do what's necessary in order to give or invest more in the circumstance and in you. If there's third parties involved in this situation that have been a block or a wedge or an obstacle, this can be in the form of other people, addictions, core belief systems, excuses, fears, patterns, wounding, anything, any kind of number of things, spirituality, religion, ethnicity, age difference, geographic distance, any and all of those factors, some combination of things, it feels like for a lot of people, a lot in the mix in this situation. There's a deep urge on their part to kind of leave it all behind, to wrap it all up and move in your direction. You represent wish fulfillment for them in a lot of ways, but they're almost kind of scared that this is a dream that will prove too good to be true, that you are that wish fulfillment, and yet it almost is something where, as much as they are wanting to kind of deliver and give, they understand that they bring a lot of baggage in tow with them of an emotional or even kind of physical or situational nature. And so whatever they are giving to you at this particular point in time, they are recognizing that this is not sufficient. This is not kind of the proper nourishment that this connection needs in order to really ground into something more solid and substantial, in order to, get off the ground from a place where it has kind of come to a screeching halt. If you're in a no contact situation with one another with this Two of Swords, it's almost like all they can give at this particular point in time is like loving vibrations sent from afar. But there is a desire to bring this connection out into the light of day, but almost a motivation to not do that because of the idea of like watchful eyes, interferences, other debris or kind of bigger cycles within their life that they know they need to close out because they have either interfered already in the dynamic between the two of you, or to move towards you, to become something more, to express the truth of what they hold inside. The other parts and components of who they are in their life at this particular point in time, that these are not kind of like friendly factors or forces. These things are not in favor of the growth of something between the two of you. And so it's almost kind of like I'm holding back as a way to kind of protect what might develop between us, or what I might be able to kind of give to you in the future. So it's somebody that they're very fearful of missing their opportunity with you. They're very afraid that kind of you've gotten the wrong impression of them up to this point in time, or whatever it is that they've been able to give or not give, whatever's come in the way of the situation that may have led to sort of a cycle closing out between the two of you, or in the midst of like this runner chaser dynamic currently. There's a sense of fear, like I don't know how to kind of make up for lost time. I don't know how we get off this hamster wheel that we find ourselves on. This person may have some big decisions, big things that they need to kind of wrap up, these different kind of webs that they are sort of embroiled in and involved in their life, that they're understanding they need to cut themselves free from these things in order to be able to move towards you openly. That as much as they could have almost chosen the safer or more predictable route, what was more deeply entrenched in their life and their world and their reality in terms of whatever that looked like before you came along, whatever that kind of core programming or belief system was within that caused them to be sort of skeptical or resistant to participating in a more deep and consistent manner with you in the past. Or even presently, there's an understanding of they can't have it both ways, that there's something about them or their situation that conflicts with kind of all the potential that they see with you, what you're offering and what they kind of have to bring to the table and give. These things are not compatible at this point in time. But rather than kind of throwing in the towel, and they may have tried to do that, they may have tried to just sort of dismiss this as, well, we're too different to make it work, there's too many obstacles, this is like right person, wrong time. They keep circling back around to the reality of, I long very deeply for you. I miss you. I want this to be something more than it is or than it has been in the past. You represent this wish fulfillment for me in so many ways. And in the perfect world, I would just be free and open to move towards you, bearing nothing but my soul. But I bear all of these other kind of patterns and entanglements as well. And so until these things are cleared away from my reality, and until I allow myself to kind of free me from these things, I can't give you or be to you what you deserve, what you need, and what you want fully. And there's a lot of guilt that they carry about that. There may even be, as I just kind of went into like full first person channeling mode right there may even be some kind of like speech that they've prepared, something that they've really rehearsed, something that is, it's right on the tip of their tongue. It's right there in their heart. They are so certain about what they feel, what they want, what you mean to them. But it's almost like they are holding themselves back because they are sensing a degree of almost block, unhealed patterns, toxicity, fears within themselves, that to be able to move forward in this connection, they're wanting to do this in a way that they can give you all of themselves, not just a little, not just something that gets the two of you by and till the next hurdle, or something that needs to be kind of like kept in the dark, or sort of an option, something that's on the back burner, something that needs to be hidden. There's this urge to announce very proudly and in the light of day what you mean to them, what the situation means to them, the feelings that they hold inside. And yet it feels like for a lot of people, with very good reason, and in addition to sort of resistance within, it feels like there are definitely other factors that are a logical consideration, like a geographic distance or a third party being a factor in the situation. Maybe trust that was demolished before, that it would take time to rebuild. Addictions or other kind of patterns in their life that really sort of stunt what they're able to kind of provide to you as far as fertile material in order to kind of grow and evolve into something very beautiful. So it's more than just kind of a collection of excuses or some heavy lifting that they're not wanting to do in the interest of this connection. It's almost like these entanglements, it will take time to kind of break free from those. And they sort of have run the full gamut of trying to push you away, trying to cut this connection, cut their feelings for you, this desire, this longing, maybe even a lot of like energetic bond between you, a lot of telepathy going on, a lot happening in the dream space, a lot where they have really, it feels like, resisted this with all their might. They've tried to run in the opposite direction, and they keep coming back around to the fact that I can't loose myself from you. I don't want to forget you. I don't want to be away from you. This doesn't feel good. This doesn't feel right. And it's a sense of like the more that they push and the more that they struggle and the more that they sort of sit in the bed that they have made, they kind of sit in their ordinary reality that in many ways is at odds with what's possible with you, what you have offered to them, what they sense could develop between the two of you. It brings more to the forefront of their awareness that they're living an artificial life, or that now that they've met you, they've experienced you and the possibilities of this connection, that they can't just go back to convincing themselves that they're happy where they are, that they're living their best life, that this is truly the path for them. You've opened their eyes in some manner to a different way, a new possible future for themselves. You've awakened something. And they can't unsee that. They can't close that door. And yet it feels to be something that And they may vacillate between these periods of kind of resisting the pull towards you, resisting this heavy lifting that's done or needs to be done, because the easier route is kind of just choosing what's in place, as uncomfortable as that is. It's established, it's there, so it's easier to just kind of go through the motions as they have been. But at the same time, there, it feels like there's this very distinct quality of like, I want to protect the dream of our future, because I am very complicated at this point. I bring complications to the table. There's no illusion about that. And it's an essence here in the past, if they'd kind of tried to juggle you and other people, or had sort of third parties, or even an ex, or maybe a couple of exes that they were still hung up on, that they weren't really sure what they wanted. They're kind of just swimming all over the place and being very non-committal. There's a sense of determination and knowing that you are their destiny, you are their destination. But even the nature of those kind of wounds or loose ends that they need to tie up, something that they need to resolve, some patterns with these other individuals that need to be closed up, with time being of the essence, with that kind of Knight of Swords energy right here. This is someone who understands that they can't just take their time with this process, and there's a lot of fear of losing out or missing out based on kind of the nature of what has to be closed out or sort of cut away from in their life, steps that they have taken to kind of push you in this connection away or undermine things, which has further complicated the circumstances between the two of you. Big kind of life changes that they need to make, even sort of addressing and owning that aspect that is necessary, it feels like, in order to truly have sort of a fresh start with you, or to have something more with you in the future and in this situation. It's the idea of it's going to be hard work, but there's so much that compels them in the direction of this is worth fighting for. But they're almost kind of just, it feels like, observing and getting the lay of the land of their circumstance, internal and external, and sort of like, what do I need to do? What's the plan of action? How does this all unfold in order to put myself in a space of clearing, of being clear and free, so that I am able to give all of me to this situation, so that I am no longer fighting these feelings, repressing these feelings, hiding this connection. But I'm able to stand in the light and truth of that in a participatory way, in a reciprocal way, in the light of day. That's the ultimate desire here, that they're very afraid to tell you that, very afraid to tell you even just that they have feelings for you based on how they've kind of treated you or pushed you away. They're afraid to kind of express that they have feelings for you based on kind of everything else that is a complication within their life, or sort of where you're at and where your life is headed moving forward. There's this kind of deep desire to be a part of that, but then also a sense of very afraid that they'll only kind of weigh you down, or hold you back on some kind of progress along your own kind of route and path. And so it's a deep desire to nurture, to declare you, to claim you as that wish fulfillment, but then also really wanting to show up as that equal kind of counterpart of wish fulfillment for you as well, and very much aware, it feels like, of aspects of their life that are not in alignment with that vibration, that need to be kind of cleared away. Also with that is this element here with this kind of spiritual layer of things, with all the like dreams and the telepathy and like this heart-to-heart communication and energy exchange. They're afraid to tell you that yes, they consciously feel these things too. They feel this transcendent connection. They are experiencing these same phenomenon. A lot of signs and synchronicities, all these things pointing to you. Maybe even afraid to tell you that they've looked into and researched and resonate with this as a twin flame situation, a soulmate situation. However, they've taken this for granted, or kind of chosen the path of fear up to this point in time. It's a sense of, I'm afraid to kind of tell you that I was wrong, that I misjudged this situation, that I pigeonholed you and this circumstance as something less meaningful than it is, when in fact you mean the world to them. There's a lot of fear in admitting that. So let's get some message cards and see what else this person wants to tell you from their higher self right now. before I get into these message cards in terms of signs, with the swords, we've got air energy, Aquarius, Gemini, and Libra. Pentacles is Earth, Capricorn, Taurus, and Virgo. The world is fixed energy, Aquarius, Taurus, Leo, and Scorpio. And water, or cups is water, Pisces, Cancer, and Scorpio. So they say, you've been in my dreams. So there's that confirmation of kind of the Six of Cups and dreaming, and then also the idea of kind of nightmares with the Nine of Swords. You are the dream come true. You are the wish fulfillment. And there is a deep fear that they will not get their act together quick enough, that you will become somebody else's wish fulfillment and dream, that they will miss an opportunity with you, or that already too much time has been squandered, too much pain and confusion has been caused. They're in too deep in their situation to either get out altogether and be able to move towards you, or they're almost kind of overcomplicating what may be a very necessary kind of breaking away from certain people, places, and things that are not serving their life ultimately and their highest good, and are also not conducive to sort of what they want to develop between the two of you in the future. They also say, your beauty still moves me. So that's that Six of Cups energy, and the nostalgia, looking back on old photos or even kind of new photos that you've put up, watching you on social media. Kind of little Page of Swords energy there, fly on the wall perspective, not really ready to come out of hiding and reveal the truth of their feelings for you, or the fact that despite the fact that there could be some distance, no contact during the runner-chaser cycle, they're very much looking in the rearview mirror to see, are you still in hot pursuit? If you've redirected your energy and focus elsewhere, this feels to be something that has kind of brought them back around to put the focus on you, to seek you out. So a lot of kind of energetic back and forth in that capacity, almost like two people playing ping pong with one another in their energy. And it's something where there's a lot of frustration with that. They're wanting to come out of that trend or tendency or chapter that you find yourselves in right now, in order to be able to build something more meaningful, more above board, more consistent than has been the case up to this point in time. They also say, maybe we're just too different. So again, a lot of the heavy lifting that they need to do, necessary things which need to be cleared out of their life in order to make space for this connection to flourish. As much as they are yearning and hoping and praying that it's not too little too late when and if they kind of work up the courage to make these changes, there are also times where they become very exhausted and overwhelmed by the nature of what needs to be done, where it's just easier to roll over and kind of remain where they are. But they can only do that for so long, based on kind of this energetic bond between the two of you that keeps compelling them back. As much as they kind of consciously try to look away, something will happen in dreams, signs and synchronicities, feeling your energy, getting that telepathy very directly that kind of brings the focus back around to the idea that this connection is meaningful, this connection is worth investing in. There's unfinished business here, or kind of a bigger cycle which is waiting to be explored and experienced, and also needs to close out. They also say, will you give me a second chance? So there's a lot of pressure on them to perform, to kind of bring forth a version of themselves that is adequately changed, or has sort of shed what no longer serves them, people, places, and things. And they are able to just kind of give themselves to you, and you exclusively. Will it be too little too late? Will the changes that they make, or that they present or demonstrate, or that they are in the process of kind of developing and growing within, is this going to be what you're looking for? Is this going to kind of match your expectations and your needs for a partner going forward? If apologies are owed, there's a deep sense of knowing that that's necessary, but kind of fearing rejection, which may be causing them to sort of hold back at present. They also say, you mean the world to me. Yeah, so that was coming up, confirmation of that world card right there, as well as the Ten of Pentacles, that in many ways you are that dream come true. You are that wish fulfillment. You're the one that they didn't see coming, the one that they wished that they had met first. In the ideal world, it would be the two of you without kind of all this all the strain and pressure and all the uphill battles and mountains that need to be moved or climbed. It's a deep sense of frustration about your circumstances, maybe even circumstances that their actions or inactions have put in place. Mountains that didn't need to be there that are now kind of the elephant in the room, that they're wondering, well, how do we move beyond this? Now this is the circumstance. Now I've failed to act, or I've fallen back into my old patterns. Will this person look at me with the eyes of redemption? Can I move back in the direction of this situation, or is this something that needs to just be chalked up as a lesson, where I will just continue to hold love very quietly for this person inside, that is unexpressed and undeclared and doesn't really have the conducive environment in which to flourish, and so is best kept in the silence. They also say, I'll be reaching out soon. So they may have something to tell you, good news to give you, something that they have shed from their life, they've cut away from, a relationship that's come to an end, an addiction that they have started dealing with, maybe somebody who's gotten counseling, started investing in sort of self-help or introspection, doing that work within themselves, wanting to present or provide some kind of olive branch to you that demonstrates, I am wanting to come back around and transcend the patterns that have limited us in the past. This is also the energy, though, of somebody who may be starting to kind of deliberately send loving energies your way. If they have very obvious kind of complications that sort of bar them from moving towards you in a place of integrity. This is someone who doesn't really want to have you be a third wheel or, be juggling anymore or at all. And so while any of that is still a factor, if that's relevant to your situation, it feels like they will just sort of increase the frequency and flow of when they are sending you those loving energies from afar. If that's the most that they can do at this point in time, it feels like they're getting ready to sort of increase the frequency of that, rather than just kind of occasional little spurts of those loving energies. They're recognizing or hoping that that channel is still open between the two of you, that you're still receptive to that, that will sort of hold their place in line in your life, while they are kind of working up the nerve or doing what is necessary, or planning and strategizing to kind of break free from some other limitations that have been a wedge or a block in this connection before. They also say, you will always have a special place in my heart that nobody else can fill. So there's kind of a melancholy with this, a sense of kind of preparing for the worst, that they won't get their act together, that you won't accept what they have to offer, that it will be too little too late. And with that is this idea of just how meaningful you are. You are wish fulfillment in so many ways. And if they had known earlier in the past what they know now, they feel that they would have operated in a very different capacity with you. Or the idea of right person, wrong time. And so for some, they're just looking around at their life, the internal life, the external life, and just saying, there's so much here. I don't know where to begin to clear it all away. I don't know if I can do this in time. I don't know if, the version of me that has kind of shed all these other sort of coping mechanisms and toxicity and kind of whatever the other complications are, I need time to even discover who that person is. Maybe you won't like what you see. Maybe I won't like what I see. I don't know what that version of me looks like. And so there's a lot that's kind of held in the space of mystery at this point in time, where they want so much more to give and receive so much more from this situation and you. But at the same time, they're very uncertain about what they kind of have to deliver and give at this point. They also say, shame on me, I put others before you. Soon after, I realized they were of no value to me. So again, this confirms the idea of like third-party energies, people that have been meddling in the connection, other people that they were involved with, maybe an ex that they went back to, something where there could have been like a choice between who's the deep soul connection, and they chose sort of the wrong option, the wrong person that was not committed to growing and working and kind of helping this person to evolve, or doing any sort of personal work within themselves. It just was remaining very kind of stagnant at a lower vibration. There's an understanding and recognition that the bed that they are laying in, literally or figuratively right now, is not the place for them. But they don't know how to move. They don't know how to redeem themselves in your eyes. They don't know how to revive this situation, because first and foremost, it feels like for a lot of people is this need to kind of close out some other road that was chosen, some other kind of karmic chapter in their life. That has to come to a conclusion before this can begin. They also say, I feel like a fool for losing you. So again, they are really not happy with where they are, with their situation, with the choice that was made to kind of embroil you in all this drama, to spark interest, awaken your heart, put themselves out there, knowing that they, had a lot of unfinished business in their life, knowing that they had all this kind of baggage and all of these complications. For others of you, this is kind of just the spark you didn't see coming in a very benign manner. All of a sudden there's love in a very ordinary kind of circumstance and situation. All of a sudden there's people who have caught or discovered these deep feelings within themselves for one another. And so the element of kind of choosing not to trust and lean into those feelings, choosing not to, or being unable to kind of recognize the gift of this connection, who you are, how unique and special these feelings and even this kind of spiritual bond is between the two of you, that at a place of distance they may find themselves at now, or that they've created in this situation. It's a lot of regret with that, kind of seeing the situation with a fresh perspective, and not yet ready to kind of bring that apology, but understanding that they need to kind of come correct, or just sort of, remain at a distance until the point when and if they are able to deliver and provide more than they have up to this point in time, so you can build toward something more meaningful in the future. So I get some initials. These can be a first, middle, or last name of you or this person, or can spell something out, just whatever resonates for you. V, C, M, C, H, B, Y, B, K, A, P, F, E, R, O, U, and M. So those are your messages. I hope that they resonated with you and that you enjoyed the reading. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, or share. If you'd like a personal reading, I offer them through my Etsy shop, and there's a link to that in the description box of the video. I offer a variety of pre-recorded video readings, written readings, and channeled letters. Turnaround time on everything is 5 to 7 days from the time of purchase. I also sell handmade jewelry, dream catchers, and sun catchers if you're interested in checking any of those out as well. And I've launched a second channel here on YouTube, which is called Lady of the Dawn Tarot. There's a link to that in the description box of the video, as well as in the channel section of my page. The format over there consists of readings related to topics other than love and romance. So if you're looking for something a little different from me, that is the place to find it. I thank you for your support there, as well as for your continued support here on this channel. I hope to see you again in another reading. Please take care and be well.